Everyone focuses on earning MRR, monthly recurring revenue. But the truth is that most people fail exactly because they do it that way. So in this video, I'm going to show you something that we've successfully used over the past 1.5 years to sell voice AI solutions with an offer that isn't recurring on the front end, but has recurring potential. And at the same time, it is the best strategy for beginners to start selling voice AI solutions. In our slides, we're going to talk about the hidden MRR model that no one really talks about. And today I'm going to give you all the insights that you need to know on how you can leverage it for yourself. And obviously to give you a better understanding that there's something else out there that is not MRR based, but can make you actually more money than the MRR model itself. And if you don't believe me, you don't have to take my word for it. Simply watch the case study that we created a few weeks ago on how we helped a billion-dollar company make over $500,000 worth in revenue in less than 2 months, which by the way also resulted in a lifetime revenue that was higher than the initial recurring revenue we could have charged. I definitely recommend watching this after the video because it's really insightful. Now, if you don't know who I am, my name is Yannis Moore and I started my own voice AI agency over 1.5 years ago. And since then we have helped business owners with small companies up to Fortune 200 clients build awesome voice AI solutions that actually make a difference. And since we're still getting a lot of more leads that we can handle ourselves, we started an educational program where we help people how to build voice AI solutions, whether that's for their business or that is as a service to offer to others. And this is going extremely well, and we have already over 5,300 people in this community, and it's growing every single day. And I'm really happy to share that we already closed over $250,000 worth in project revenue for our students. This is literally cash collected by them for the project that they offered with strategies they learned inside of our community. So if you want to learn more about that, stick until the end of this video because I'm going to share some really cool insights. Now, what's actually the problem of MRR? Let's dive right into that. Now, while everyone is really obsessed about MRR, the truth is that this is not really an important metric early on. Now, there's a handful of people where MRR actually makes sense, and I'm going to go over that why this is the case. The initial issue we see is that people start charging MRR for a service that isn't really value driven, so they are not 100% sure whether or not this actually provides the value, which means they usually fail in the end. This is usually because the ROI isn't there, and in order to have the ROI, you need to have industry-specific knowledge, which brings us to these two groups that you can see on the screen right now. So looking at the screen, the only group where I really believe MRR could be potentially possible is the group 1, where we talk about people that already have any kind of previous industry experience and have basically identified the actual bottlenecks of what they're trying to solve. If you already know what those customers struggle with, whether you already work in that same industry or you have friends that literally just penetrate you every day on this is a big issue and we can't really solve it, this is where it potentially makes sense because you already have some sort of validation of what you're trying to build. So you already have a validation that there's a need for it, which makes it a lot easier for you to identify how much you can sell it for, because that is usually the biggest differentiator, whether or not it makes sense for you to price something, right? Because you don't want to just make it usage priced without any kind of idea of how much you can actually charge for it, if that makes sense. These recurring offers mean that you should already have the data beforehand whenever you go into a company to make it very clear to them what you offer, why you offer that, how much it is, and the benefits that they will get out of it. If that is not there, you most likely fall into group 2, which is the people that don't have any previous industry experience or don't have any experience about the potential solutions that they can offer, which is why what I'm going to show you today will be so incredibly helpful to you. I've talked about that on my channel before, and I refer to it as a handover solution. And if you've never heard of handover solution, no worry, I have a cheat sheet right here on the screen with a total of 4 points that really help you understand what this handover solution is about, in the sense of why it is better for you. Now, if you never heard of a handover solution at all, simply imagine that you build something out on the client's tech stack so the client has ownership of that at the very end of the day, so that you can pull yourself out of it in case things get hard or complicated or it's something you just don't want to pursue. Now, I've covered this in depth in a video that I'm also going to link down below in the description so you can check it out and learn more about the handover solution itself, because I have a whole video literally covering all of it a bit more in depth so you get a better feeling on how that actually looks in practice. Now, the first thing is obviously, like I mentioned, the direct ownership, which is a very big selling point as well, because people like to own stuff, so they will literally have ownership of all the automations. They will bring their own accounts along, so you literally just go in and build out the automations and everything around it on their own accounts. Then we also have the aspect of less responsibility, which is a really important one, especially when you begin, because in the beginning, you don't really know if you want to work with a certain use case. And I'm saying this out of experience because it might be that what you're building is not actually aligning with your interests or ethics or whatever else is influencing it. So you might want to pull yourself out. If you host something, it is a lot harder for you to get out of that. So you have a lot of more friction. You need to find a way on moving it out. You might have to cancel contracts, etc. So there's a lot of more work that goes into that. So because you hand something over at the end of the project, you can decide by yourself whether or not you would like to continue working with that client or not. And this flexibility is golden, especially when you're just starting out. Another little goodie that actually comes more on the side is that you can charge a higher price for it because you hand something over. The client can basically own something, which always is connected to a higher perceived value. So we have seen that you can have a price increase of maybe $1,000, $2,000, or if you put it in percentages, maybe 10, 20%. And the last part is also a very interesting one, which is that you can get away without having any kind of systems in place. Now, if that doesn't make sense, simply think of you building out a solution. You obviously try to make it as scalable and performance-oriented as possible, so a lot of time goes into that. Now, when you create a handover solution, it's basically for that specific client. And especially in the beginning, you most likely don't know everything about every kind of tech stack that goes into that. So you trial things and see if they work for you. Now, since you have the flexibility to choose whatever tech stack you would like, it is a lot of more forgiving because you can just change things in between the tech stack and try them out without affecting any other clients because you don't have them systemized yet. So that is a great starting point of you just trialing things and learning while you actually build out a solution and while actually providing value to a business. So that's another big one that I really, really value. Now, the big question is still open. What does this actually has to do with an MRR offer? So let me go to the next slide where I'm going to show you why this works and how this works. So the principle around that is very, very simple, as you can see on my screen as well. With building a handover solution, you gain more authority and therefore you also gain more trust, which usually ends up in more follow-up projects. And this usually ends up as a bit subjective because it's actually up to you to decide whether or not you want to continue because you obviously handed this project over, so you don't have the boundaries to it. So if you really like working with them, you have plenty of options to upsell them really cool offers that just help you to get some sort of MRR going that is usually even higher priced than a normal MRR model. And the way this works is by using our hidden recurring angles, which are not so hidden anymore after that, but I would love to share that with you. And this whole thing is basically packaged in the upsells. So there's a couple of solutions, and this is literally just examples that you can leverage to get some sort of recurring model afterwards, which actually can even result in an actual recurring model. The first one I'd like to point out is that you can make optimizations for the existing project. So let's, for example, say you build a customer support agent. How complex is that customer support agent in the beginning? Whenever you finish the project and you started handing it over, the client is most likely coming back to you and asking for more additional features because they have been satisfied with what you built. This is usually the case if you do a great job, and that usually results in follow-up projects that you can take anyways. So this already means additional revenue. Then another thing that will most likely happen is that they have additional features during the project that they'd like to have implemented. So for that, again, you shouldn't be shy. You should literally just tell them, hey, this is out of scope. This will take us X amount of hours. It's something we can implement, and this is the price for it. So if you're down for that, let me know and we can sign it and get it done. So this is another option that you can leverage to get more money out of an existing project. Then the third one that you can see on the screen right now is an actual truly recurring offer, which means you offer maintenance or potentially support. That can be plans where you can be really creative depending on the size of the project and the exact need they help or want, where you basically offer them a set of hours every single month that gives them, for example, dedicated support, maybe Slack support, maybe meetings. You just help them push this project forward. It might be even just quality control or automated testing. The options are really endless. It is something that helps you to push towards an actual MRR offer from a single one-time project, which is obviously incredibly powerful and something most people don't even consider in the beginning. Then the fourth one are AI audits, because now you already have the trust of the company. It is also a lot easier to analyze more things. In the end, if you can master voice AI, you can definitely master other automations, because voice AI is one of the harder things you can learn. So if you manage voice AI, you also have a better picture of what you can analyze inside a business to automate more manual and repetitive tasks. So because of that, you can make an AI audit that you can offer them either for free or also paid, and then get even more projects on top of that. So as you can see, you can basically stack that with more follow-up projects, more follow-up projects, and more follow-up projects. So you're literally just limited by your own flexibility and interest in working with that client long-term, which in my opinion is a game changer for the beginning, especially since you retain the flexibility and you just decide for yourself who you want to work with, how long you want to work with, and for what price you want to work with. To make sure you really remember that, I summarized all of the key lessons that I believe are really important to get for you from this video. Starting with the first one, it's that you should not obsess over MRR early. MRR in the beginning can be actually quite detrimental to you and your productivity, because you might get into something that you can't get out that easily. What you should focus on instead is lifetime value, basically the amount of value that you can collect from a customer over a period of time. Obviously, that is something that you don't have in the beginning, because you don't know how long you can have a customer stick around that suits your needs, that is in your industry, that is in your niche. But that is something you can determine after a certain amount of time, and obviously you're hopefully in this game for long term, so it will help you to understand how much a customer is actually worth it. And usually for those kind of projects, it's much easier to go into the lifetime value group rather than the standard MRR. MRR is awesome, but you need data for that. And if you don't have the data in the beginning, it's incredibly hard to get MRR to a level where it really makes sense. Then I want you to understand that one-time projects can actually outperform any kind of recurring retainers, because you have so many upsell possibilities after that that you can implement into the company for making them more happy, binding them more to you, and bringing them more value. And then lastly, which is basically a result out of that, is by you providing handover solutions and upsells on top of it, you most likely have a higher lucrativity of projects, so basically a higher net income or net earning than what you would have if you offer MRR solutions. Now, obviously there's a ton of nuances to it, but if you're not building a SaaS and you don't have any prior industry experience, this will most likely be true for you. And that said, what is next? I still believe that voice AI is the fastest medium we have to communicate with technology in a general way, and I don't think this will go anywhere. We are on the track of bringing more people into the voice AI game because it is such a powerful thing with such in demand that we can't keep up with our own leads. So we just love to spread the word and make sure you can take advantage of this before everyone else. If this sounds interesting to you, I highly recommend checking out our voice AI bootcamp. You'll find the link for that below in the description. We literally share all of the resources and everything we learned about starting an agency and actually start building voice agents completely for free in our school community. So there's nothing to lose and you can get started right away. Now with that said, I really hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, I'd really appreciate if you can drop me a comment below with whatever you believe is the best offer to get started, or potentially any other offer that you actually tried and made money with. I'm keen to understand where you are in this game, and I'd love to have you on board to dive even deeper into the voice AI game. That's all for now. Thank you very much for watching, and I appreciate your time, and see you in the next one.